Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Mr. Fix-It channel. Got the scrambler in the shop again today and we're working on the front struts. Stay tuned.
I was sitting out there in the shed one evening, not doing too much of nothing, just kind of staring at the wall. And
Okay, so the information in this video is going to be relevant to your scramblers, your sportsmans, your trail bosses, your trailblazers, your 400Ls, your 250s, your 350s. It's all going to be basically the same setup. So the first thing you want to do is get the vehicle jacked up off the floor. I'm using my ATV jack so it lifts all four wheels off the ground, but if you're only going to lift off the front and use jack stands, make sure you put them on the frame, not the A-arms. Alright, let's go get the front tires out of the way. Alright, so on top of the strut here, there's two flats for a wrench, 1/4 inch wrench, and then a 5/8 nut. Go ahead and stick my 5/8 wrench there. I'm going to use a big crescent wrench for this. Get this adjusted. Alright, so we want to stick our 5/8 wrench there. Hold the top of the strut with the wrench. Loosen this up. Alright, so this side is so tight that I'm just rounding off these two flats. So I'm going to try a little bit of heat. Not too much heat now because there's rubber and plastic all over the place, so you don't want to melt nothing. Alright, try again now that it's hot. It's not going to come. Alright, well, got to go to a little bit more drastic measures here. Alright, so what I'm going to have to do now is take the front fenders off. So we're going to take this centerpiece off. Yeah, I know this is off of a Trail Boss. This is a scrambler. We're going to take the oil cap off. We're going to remove this. Careful any wires that might be plugged in. And then there's a 3/8 bolt there, and then one there. We got the bolts for the mud guards, and then the screws here, and then this plate that comes off here. And we got to take the gas tap off and remove the seat. And you got two more bolts right here. Alright, now I'm going to hit that with this impact. Hopefully that'll knock it loose. Yep. Alright, before you take that nut all the way off, go ahead and grab the hub and support the weight. Take your nut off. Let this thing come out of there. And then support the bottom of it with a jack or a jack stand, so you're not putting any pressure on the axle or the brake hose. This might actually be easier to do by taking the front fenders off of the scrambler, because the scrambler don't have a lot to take off, because I don't think we have to undo the ball joint if we do it this way. So you got two bolts in the strut here, 1/2 inch, and they pinch that shock in place. So I'm going to loosen each one of these a little at a time, one by one, because if I go too fast it'll just shoot that spring out of there. So just a little bit each one, slowly at a time, and that thing will just gradually pull itself out. Alright, this thing should just slide out of here, but if there's a bunch of mud and grime grit in here, it may be a little stuck. So you just got to kind of wrestle this thing out. Just make sure it's had come loose, because you don't want to be standing in front of this thing if it still has all that spring pressure on it. Okay, well, I'm going to wrestle that out. It just pulls straight out. Okay, here's your part stack up. On top you have the nut, you have a big flat washer, you have a rubber spacer, and this plastic piece that's half round on the inside. And then you have the frame. Then there's this piece that corresponds with that. And then there's a nut, and then this big cap to hold the spring down. So we got to take this nut off. This happens to be a 3/4, so deep 3/4 socket. Then there's this big nut. And you have this ring, and then the spring can come off. And then stuck in a spring there is the bushing, the stopper. Okay, how do you know for sure that this shock is blown? Is first you'll see oil leaking out of there. That's your first sign. And if enough oil is leaked out, you'll have a gap in your dampening. So you can see how I can move that really easy. So you'll just want to exercise your shock up and down a few times, and all the fluid will rush to the bottom, and you'll feel how much slop there is. That shock is no good. You have to replace that. Yeah, so that's what the fluid looked like that came out of there. I took these old blown Polaris shocks and I drilled a hole in the bottom of them, tapped them for a bolt and a seal, and I've just been refilling them with fluid until I can find me a good set of shocks. I like this Fox set. If anybody has a Fox set of front struts that are rebuildable, leave it down in the comment. Let me know about it. Might be interested. If you'd like to know more about this, I'll put a video link right up here in the corner. Alright, you're going to slip this assembly back into the strut by hand. Just kind of twist and wiggle until you get this down as far as it'll go. It's not going to go all the way down because it's going to have spring pressure on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this brake line retainer clip off of the strut, and I'm going to remove the jack stand. I'm going to be really careful not to pull too hard on the brake line or on that CV axle down there. I'm going to loosen this brake line clip. Alright, once you get that brake line loose, I'm going to move the jack stand, and I'm going to carefully stretch this down enough to get this through the frame there. And then I'm going to go ahead and take off the other side and do the same thing to it, and then we'll come back and we'll put the rest of this back together. Okay, now I'm going to put the front tires back on it, set it back on the floor, and then let the weight of the machine collapse that spring, and then I can shove that strut back down in there. Alright, don't forget to reinstall your brake line bracket. Normally these are loose enough where you can just push these down by hand, but for whatever reason mine are really stiff, and I'm going to use a pair of pliers to force that down in there. I'm just going to give it a little twist and push down on it. And you can reach in up above the CV axle and feel that it's fully seated in the bottom there. And then don't forget to tighten up the 2 pinch clamps. Just tighten them a little at a time, each one back and forth until they're both tight. You're only going to tighten these to about 18 foot-pounds. Alright, not a bad job on the scrambler. Pretty easy. Took maybe an hour and a half at most, and that was with me screwing around with adding oil and all that I wouldn't recommend you do, but if you so happen to choose, check out the link. So after this, enjoy your quad because it's going to handle way better. I'm going to leave the fenders off for now because I want to pressure wash everything that was underneath that, because you can't get to it any other way. So I'm going to end the video here. That's all there is to it. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and don't be afraid to fix it. Thanks for watching. There must have been a wreck up the road. There's been 2 ambulance, a state trooper, and now a sheriff. So that's concerning. Now what else we got coming? Wow, the police department coming out of town to assist. Now the fire department. What we got now? More fire department. But wait, there's more. Another fire truck. Somebody's not okay.